by the end of this video, you're going to have Mongosh set up, which is going to help you access MongoDB, and you're going to be able to create your own database with a collection and a lot of different data inside of it. So you're going to learn how to insert data, update it, find different types of data, and a bunch of different stuff. So make sure that you watch this whole video. But before we get started, make sure that you like this video, subscribe so you don't miss upcoming content like this. Comment down below if you have any questions or if you have anything that you'd like to say. But now, let's get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is open your browser and search up MongoDB Mongosh and press on the first link. This is going to allow us access MongoDB from our shell or terminal. So go ahead and press on download Mongosh. Once you're here, scroll down, keep the version the same, platform the same, and change it from zip to MSI. Unless you want to download it as a zip, go ahead and press download, and it should take a few seconds. So there it is, it's done for me now. And once you press it, it's going to open the setup wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and press on next, install, and this shouldn't take too much time. So as we can see, it took a few seconds, but we're going to go ahead and press on finish. After it's done downloading, you're going to want to go ahead and open a terminal. So I have CMD opened. If you don't want to open your command prompt or let's say PowerShell, you can actually open VS Code and press on View Terminal. This should pop up like this. So it would be somewhere right over here. You can make it larger, and we're going to run a command called Mongosh. So Mongosh like this, and it's going to connect to our local database. I'm going to exit out of this because I'm going to be using my command prompt. I'm going to maximize this, make it larger by holding Control and pressing on the plus key. So now let's go ahead and actually run Mongosh just like this. We can see that it's going to be connected to this URL. But the first command that we're going to write is show DBS, which is going to show us all of the different databases that we currently have locally saved. You should only have 3 because these are going to be the default ones, but let's go ahead and create our first database by writing use, and you can name this whatever you want. So I'm going to call this my first DB and press on enter. Now if we write show DBS, we can see that we're still not going to have this database in here because we actually have to add a collection in here and insert some data. So to do that, we're going to start by writing db dot, and after that, we're going to name a collection. So we're going to create a collection of users. You can create a collection of, let's just say, notes if you're making a website about notes, maybe blogs or anything else, but we're going to be using users, and we have to insert our first data by using a method called insert1. Make sure that the O is capitalized, and here we're going to insert an object. So this works just like JavaScript. So in here we could set the name to be Bob. So Bob, and let's also add an age of 10. And after we press on enter, I get a quick error because I forgot to add a colon after the age, which is pretty funny, but it's a pretty quick fix. Now we can see that it says acknowledge true. And a cool thing that MongoDB does is if you don't manually add an ID, it's going to do that for you. So that's going to save you a little bit of time. But now if you want to clear all of this out, you can write CLS if you're on command prompt, and it's going to clear all of this out. But if you're on VS Code, you can write clear, and that's going to do the exact same thing for you. Let's go ahead and actually see if this collection is added now. So show DBS, and now we can see that my first DB is going to be now stored locally because it actually has some data in here. So congratulations, you have made your first database and collection. So, but now what we're going to do is actually take a look at our user that we created. So we can write db.users, and in here we're going to write find, and then we're going to use the round brackets, and now we're going to see our user. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so that we can see all of this, but we can see the object ID that was inserted, the name of Bob, and the age of 10. For you, it might be different. It really depends on what you inserted in there, but congrats on your first data stored inside of a database. And now what we're going to do is actually insert another one. So db.users.insert1. And here we're going to set the name. Instead of Bob, we're going to set this to Josh. The age is going to be, let's just say 21. And we can also add an array here. So let's add an array of hobbies, just like that. And in here, let's just say that Josh likes coding, and he also likes sleeping, so coding. And then here we're also going to write sleeping. So zoom out a little bit. There it is. So coding and sleeping. And now when we press on enter, we're going to get an acknowledge of true. And if we write db.users.find, we're going to have both of our users. So Bob, and we're also going to have Josh. But if we take a close look, we can see that Bob doesn't have hobbies like Josh. There's a method that could fix that, which we're going to use later on. So make sure you watch this whole video to learn how to do that. But since we can find all of our users, shouldn't we be able to find a single user if we ever needed to? Yes, we can. So to do that, we would write db.users. And just like this function right here, insert one, we can write find one. And in here, we write the values that we want to match. So let's say that we wanted the age to be 10, then we would get a user where the age would be 10. Let's say we wanted a user where the age was 10, and then the name was also Bob. Well, we could do that. So age of 10, name of Bob, there it is. Let's say if we changed the name to 21 and press on enter, we get null because there's no object that has the age of 21 and has a name of Bob. So to fix that, we can change the name to Josh, and now we're going to get Josh. So of course, we can change this to only one value if we want to. So name of Josh, there it is. And let's see what happens if we have two users with the same names. So db.users.insert one. We're going to insert a user with a name of Josh for now. And we're going to delete it later on, but Josh, there he is. And let's use the exact same command that we wrote. So db.users.find1, where the name equals to Josh. If we press on enter, we can see that we still get only one Josh, and that's because, let me write db.users.find just to show you. That's because this is going to be the first Josh that comes up. So this is what would happen. But now let's just say that we want to find all of the Joshes that we have. So db.users.find. If we wanted to see both of these guys, we can write db.users.find. And in here, we can say that we want the users with the name of Josh. And we are going to see both of these users. So there it is. We can do the same for age, of course, but we don't have two users with the same age, so we can't do that right now. So let's go ahead and add two users. But if we use db.users.find, or sorry, insert one, we would have to run this line, or sorry, command twice. And of course, they've already thought of this, so instead of writing insert one, we can write insert many. And since it's going to be a few users, we're going to have to write, we're going to have to use the square brackets, and then in here we would have the first object here, and then the second object here. And let's start by setting the name here to be Jack, and the age is going to be 18. Then in here we're going to have different users, so let's just say David, and then the age was also 18. And then let's just say this guy had a few hobbies, so the hobbies were skating and then also swimming. I gotta fix this right here, so there we go. Now let's go to Jack and also add a few hobbies. So, or sorry, yeah, hobbies. And then we're gonna only have one, so I'm gonna set this to be running. After we press on enter, we're gonna get acknowledged true, and then instead of insert ID, it's gonna be insert IDs, and then it's gonna insert both of these IDs. If this didn't work for you, make sure that you copied exactly what I have in here. So make sure you have the square brackets here, and then after every single user, you would have a comma. So let me show you once again, db.users.insert many. And here, make sure they have the square brackets, and then user, comma, user, comma, user. So as many times as you want. So let's go ahead and actually take a look if this was added. So db.users.find. And now we're going to see all of our users. So we have the first user, Bob, Josh, another Josh, and then we have Jack. with one hobby and then David with two hobbies. Let's go ahead and update this object that only has a name of Josh. But how are we going to do that since we can't use the name? Well, we can use the ID over here since every single object has a different ID. And the method we're going to use is going to be called db.users. The method is update1. And before I actually use it, I want to show you something. So if we write db.users.find1, I'm going to show you how to use this ID in here. So we actually have to copy all of this with the object ID or else it's not going to work. So I'm just going to copy this to show you. So the ID, make sure you have the underscore. And let's just say I had this, or you have to delete this now. We can see that we get null. But if we add the object ID, so I'm going to copy this, and we have to place the round brackets over here, just like that, we're going to get our object with the name of Josh. So you're going to have to write the object ID. So you're going to have to write the object ID, but when we use Mongoose on our actual projects, we're not going to need to do that. But in this case, you will. Let's go ahead and actually clear this out, and we're going to write the function. So let's see if I copied it, and I didn't. So I'm going to go back in here, copy all of this, and we're going to write db.users.update1, and in here we're going to have two objects, so like that. In the first one, we're going to say what user we want to update, so a user with the ID of game object, and then all of that. I'm going to remove these spaces right here. And in here, we're going to write what we want to update or add. So let's say we want to add age. And in here, we would say, let's just say 16. And before we press on enter, make sure that you add set in here. So money sign, set, and then we're going to put this inside of brackets too. So just like this. And make sure that you add a colon here. So we're going to set age to be 16. And now if we write db.users.find, we can see that we've added age of 16 here. Now, if we change this to, let's say, name, only this guy has the age of 16, so we can choose it by that, but we already have an ID, which I forgot about, so we can leave that alone, but we can change the name also to something else. So let's just say this guy would be, instead of Josh, this guy would be, I'm gonna just literally make up a name. Let's just say Lanny, which I don't even know if is a name, but that doesn't really matter. So if we write db.users.find, now this guy is going to be Lanny instead of Josh. And this is pretty much just the basics of how you can update any user that you want. But another thing that we can do is, instead of updating one value, we can update another value. So we updated the name, so let's also update the age again. And let me make this smaller. So age, we can change this to 60. And then let's also add a few hobbies. So hobbies, and all of the hobbies are mainly just going to be the same because I don't really know what to add, but let's just say running. And now if we take a look again, so db.users.find, here we're going to have Lanny, and then the age, we changed that to 60, and one of his hobbies now is going to be running. We can add a hobby to Jack, so let's go ahead and try to do that. I'm going to copy the object ID, or you can use something else. So let's say the name, because there shouldn't be any other Jacks, but I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm just going to use the object ID. I'm going to keep the age the same, and then hobbies. So let's just say running, and then also reading. Let's take a look again. So db.users.find, running, and reading. And now that we know how to update, let's go over a few advanced queries to help us find some interesting stuff. So let's actually change David real quick. So I'm going to use the name here. So the name is going to be David. And then the ID, we're going to change that to name. We're going to set the age 14. So 10. 21, 60, 18, and we're going to have 14 now. So find David is 14, and let's go over a few advanced queries. So the first operator or condition or whatever you want to call it that we're going to use is going to be less than. So we're going to write db.users.find find one, and here we're gonna write age, and then we're gonna use the curly brackets, the money sign, and we're gonna write less than, and let's just say 21. So it's gonna return all of the users that are less than 21. And since our find one is only gonna return one, so we can change that to find many, or sorry, not find many, because that's not a thing, just find in general. And that still doesn't work because I forgot this right here, and I forgot another square bracket. So this is really fun, but there it is. We're gonna have age 10, 18, and 14. I'm gonna go ahead and CSS so that you don't see the error, but let's go ahead and do that again. So less than 21. These are gonna be all of the users that are less than 21. Now we can do greater. Now we can do greater than 21, and this is gonna be this guy right here. And since we did greater or less than, we're not going to get the user that's actually 21. So we can do greater than equal to, and now it's going to show us both of them. So I kind of said it wrong, but it would be greater than or equal to. Or we can do less than or equal to. And now this guy would also be in here. The next one we're going to do is called non-equality filter, which checks if something doesn't equal to something. So let's just say db.users.find, and then find all of them where the hobbies are actually equal to something. So we would write the money sign and E, and then null. Null just means that it doesn't exist. So we wouldn't get this guy right here because he doesn't actually have hobbies. And if we press on enter, we can see that all of the guys here have hobbies because we use this not equal sign. So we can do the same thing for other stuff. So not equal to, let's just say 14. So we're going to get all the guys that their age are 14, not equal to 14. And we can see 10, 21, 60, 18. And the guy that has an age of 14 is not in here. The next one is going to existence check. So it could be used as the same thing, but just kind of flipped. So if we set this to hobbies, and then we set this to exists, we can set this to false. And now we're only going to get the guy that doesn't have any hobbies. Or if we set this to true, we're going to get all the guys with the hobbies. So not exists and exists are pretty much the exact same thing, but just flip. But with exists, you can use true or false. And another thing I forgot to go over is going to be when we can have two operators. So let's write db.users.find. When we used age, we use, let's just say, less than or greater than or something like that. One thing that we can do is actually use both. So we can do greater than something and then also less than something. So let's fix this. Greater than, let's say 10. So we don't want 10. And actually, before I do this, I'm going to copy this. I want to see all the users that we have. So dot find. I'm going to paste this back. So we're going to have 10 and 14. So let's actually go greater than 14. And then also less than 60. So we should get the guy that's 21 and 18. Less than 60. And there they are. So 21 and 18. You can change these values to whatever you want, of course. So maybe you want greater than equal to, and then keep it like this. So now we would have the guy with the age of 14. Or maybe you also want the guy that's 60, so greater than equal to 60, so there he is. Or maybe you want greater than 14 or less than equal to 60. So there it is. And one thing I want to go over is when we write db.users.update1, I'm going to copy all of this right here. So for Lanny, let's say we want to set the hobbies to be running and also something else. Well, if we, let's remove that. If we set this to be, or sorry, if we set, so set, and then hobbies to be something else, I'm gonna have to fix this real quick. So hobbies, and then here we would have an array. Let's say that we wanted to add sleeping, might as well. And we find everything. We can see that it's going to be sleeping now, but we actually wanted to add sleeping, which means that if we wanted to have both of them, we would have to write sleeping and then also running in here. There's a fix for that, so we can actually write push in here. And instead of sleeping, we can push something else. So let's push running again. So running, and if we find everything again, we're gonna have running, and it's gonna be another array, which my mistake. So we're gonna set this back to sleeping again. So now it's gonna be just sleeping, and we're gonna push. So push, we have to remove the array in here because it's gonna push everything that we write in here. We're gonna push in running, just like that. And now if we find everything again, we're gonna have Lanny, sleeping, and running. So now we can do that. Let's try to pull something away. So we're gonna go back in here. We're gonna write pull hobbies, and we're gonna pull running from that. And now if we go find, we removed running from the hobbies, and we're gonna have sleeping. So to go over this again, pull is going to remove the value that we have in here from the variable that we have in here, but push is going to add the value that we have in here inside of this variable. So if we write push again, and then we find, we're going to have running again, which is what we just added. But if we write pull, which is going to remove it, we're only going to have sleeping now, which seems to be more accurate for this case. And let's say that you wanted to update all of the users. So you could write db.users.update many, and then we can select all of them by just writing curly brackets. And then let's say that we wanted to push in a new array of maybe skills. So skills, and then every single user would have different skills that they could add later on. But now if we console log, so db.users.find, we can see that all of them have skills. And of course, we can also remove that if we want to. So pull or unset. So pull. Now, instead of having array inside of an array, we just have it like this. And the last method I want to go over is delete. So if we want to delete a user, we can easily do that. So .users.delete, and delete one where the age is 14. I'm just going to choose David. We can just press on enter. And now if we console log everything, he's going to be gone. If we write db.users.delete many, so many, delete many, we can pretty much just delete everybody just by writing it like, we can delete everyone by writing curly brackets with nothing inside. Now if we try to find anyone, they're all gonna be gone. And now since our database is empty, so db.users.find, since it's empty, let's go ahead and actually drop the database. But of course, we're still gonna have our users collection, show collections, so users, but it's empty. So let's go ahead and just drop it by writing db.drop database, just like this. And now we have dropped it. So if we write show dbs or show dbs, we're going to have our default ones, and our database that we just had is gone. And so this was the end of the video. So I hope that you learned something. And if you did, then make sure that you leave a like, subscribe to not miss upcoming content like this. Comment down below if you have any questions or if you have anything that you would like to say. And hopefully see you in the next video.